The list of rule changes in that are going to be voted on in 2025 came out yesterday, and there are a few things that do make some sense. You have teams like Philadelphia, they are looking to amend certain rules so that in the postseason and in the regular season, the overtime rules will be the same exact thing. Where, we had a few years ago where in the postseason, it was amended that each team would have a chance to possess the ball, regardless of the outcome of the first possession. And Philadelphia wants to make that in the regular season as well. I think that makes sense. You have other things that, Green Bay basically wants to, they want to prohibit the tush push. You have the kickoff rules, and I think I'm probably in the majority. I think I liked the idea of hopefully inducing more kickoff returns, but the way that it happened doesn't make much sense to me. And now the new addition to the dynamic kickoff is that if the ball is, if the ball is kicked into the end zone, it's received, and the receiving team kneels the ball, they are able to get the ball at the 35-yard line. And I just, in terms of like bringing it out, I don't think we needed to do that. I don't see how that promotes more teams. I just don't see how that, incentivizes teams to bring the ball out, because if you're automatically getting the ball at the 35-yard line, you need basically what in today's game? You need 25 yards to be in field goal range if you have an average kicker in the NFL. This is just hurting defenses more and more. Now, there was an additional rule to that dynamic kickoff. They're kind of looking at the kickoff game as a whole. And it would permit teams, if you're the kicking team, to declare an onside kick at any time during the game if you're trailing the opponent. But I still just don't like, part of the fun of football history are these moments where teams just take extremely risky chances. Like in the Super Bowl, when the Saints come out at halftime and they kick a surprise onside kick. Now that would have been allowed by this amendment to the rule to allow them to do that as long as they're trailing. But I just wish, I wish we wouldn't have touched it. I wish the only thing that maybe would have happened is, instead of having these dynamic kickoff rules and having all of this stuff, I wish, maybe we just move the kickoff spot back 10 yards. I don't think this was an issue of teams didn't want to return kicks. I think this was a clear, resemblance of the fact that the kickers in today's NFL can kick the ball farther than we've ever seen before. It's like in baseball, pitchers are throwing harder than ever before. In football, kickers are kicking the ball farther than ever before. I don't think this has been handled the right way, and I think now we're just seeing it get possibly worse and worse. The next big thing does have to do with the playoff format in the NFL. So Detroit wants to make it so that in the current playoff seeding format, you have your 4 division winners that guaranteed get a home game, and then you have your 3 wild card winners that are going to go on the road against the 3 division winners that didn't get the top seed. And I think, look, I get it. When you look at a year like last year, where you have 2 teams in Green Bay and Minnesota who had some of the best records in the NFL, regardless of conference, regardless of division. They had some of the best records in the NFL. And they were on the road for a playoff game. And especially in Minnesota's case, they were what? They were 14-3, 13-4. And they went on the road and kind of got the brake speed off them. Now, would they have lost if they were at home? Would it have been a different outcome? Maybe. But, that game, they were beat pretty handedly by an LA Rams team that knew how to beat them. I don't like this. I don't like the thought of this. I think we just need to stop with this. Like the playoff thing. I mean, I get it. Like if you're Minnesota, if you're Green Bay, and you want to host a playoff game, not just because you want to have that home field advantage, but you want your fans to see a playoff game. And I understand that. But my thing is like having the wild card as opposed to being at home. You know, teams have done it before, plenty and plenty and plenty of times. They have made the Super Bowl, have won the Super Bowl from one of the wild card slots. And so with that in mind, I just don't like that this is being proposed. I think this needs to not be voted in. I think this is a terrible idea because we're going to end up with division winners that just feel like, you know, they're going to feel in the same exact spot that wild card teams have been in, I guess. But they're actually going to have a gripe because they did their job in winning the division. They were better than 3 other teams in their division. It doesn't matter if their division stinks. I mean, Seattle was in one of the worst divisions ever. They had a losing record, I believe, when they played the Saints at home. And can you imagine if that game would have been played in New Orleans? How much different we would look at guys like Marshawn Lynch, like the Seattle Seahawks. There are moments that are born from stuff like this that would have been taken away in NFL history if this type of rule was already in place. And because of that, I just don't like it. Those really are the main rules and bylaws that are being introduced. I don't really like many of them, as I've already mentioned. I'm sure there's probably a lot of different other opinions, but that's just kind of how I feel. Let me know how you feel about it, and maybe you'll change my mind.